Hi, this is Zak Mir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Vox Markets for Wednesday, the 7th of July. A bit of a thin day, as we have had in recent days. Ariana Resources, the first stock here, rising along with the 50-day moving average, which has been basically guiding the price since the beginning of April. Nice gaps higher as well. Probably looking for an end-of-day close or a weekly close back above the initial June resistance there, or the June resistance of 5.36. Above that, we could see the shares head up to around 6.5 pence, retesting last year's resistance by the end of next month. Stop loss at the moment back below 4.8 pence, which is the floor of the rising trend channel from the autumn. Star of the day today, and a great company on a fundamental basis. Great CEO as well. Korra Gold. Here we've seen the shares basically break out through recent resistance. That's around the sort of 8 to 9 pence area. That's been in place since basically the beginning of the year. An old peak there from October, around 10.5 pence. And while we're above that, and if we get an end of day close above that, then looking for greater highs, potentially back towards the last resistance for the shares around 15 pence, which was in place since the middle of last year. So above 10.5, looking for 15 on Cora over the course of the rest of July. This stage really back below 9 pence, and the top of the gap that we've had today really delaying the upside scenario. But because obviously we have had similar move this time last year for the shares through to 15 pence. So hopefully history won't repeat itself. A stock which seems to have caught some people out in terms of a bit of a bear trap situation of late has been Devco. Here we've got a situation where yesterday's low down to, what was that, 38 pence, was a bit of a bear trap, slight bear trap below, well, obviously a bear trap below 40 pence, but also below that late June support area. But really the shares bounced off the old resistance, also bounced actually above that broken resistance line there from March, so that was actually a plus. So the key reversal to the upside yesterday, also impressive, i.e. closing above the previous day's high. Current view is that while we're above 40 pence, looking towards that line of resistance there from back in January up towards the 65 pence area, and that could be hit as soon as the end of next month. In terms of any trigger point, probably you want to see the shares either give an end of day close above yesterday's peak of 45 or recent resistance of 46 3/4, but above 40 pence looking pretty healthy for Devco at the moment. On to Hummingbird, which has obviously had its moments in the recent past. Current situation is that it looks like we are delivering, the shares are delivering a decent bear trap gap reversal. So bear trap below the previous floor there, around 19.5 pence, and above 19.5 pence, and with that gap that we've had today, looking for at least a retest of recent resistance around 24 pence over the next couple of weeks. 24 pence is what we saw back at the end of May. Stock which has been requested, which is not normally one that gets any coverage here because I look at the tiddlers normally, but International Consolidated Airlines, requested stock, and here we've got a situation where the shares are sort of being held back by the 50-day moving average. That's been the case really since the gap down that we had for the shares at the beginning of May. The view now is that while there's no end-of-day close back above the 50-day line at 195, we could see the risk of a retest of late June support around £1.70. A bit strange that the shares are that weak, given that we're supposed to be opening up, but I suppose with the extension of the self-isolation rules till August 16th, beyond Freedom Day, then maybe that's a bit of a dampener on sentiment at the moment. On to Kropz, which has been a stock which I covered earlier in the spring, I think quite a few times. Current situation, though, is that shares have sort of melted back from the peak that they had at around 12 pence in May. Current situation is that we're just seeing whether support comes in around 4.5 pence. If it does, we've got a potential recovery situation here, but obviously this stock is not exactly the most liquid around, so maybe just want to keep an eye out on rather than do anything more dramatic than that. Better situation is Petro Matad, where we've had reasonable price movement over the recent past. Obviously, all the small oilers at the moment doing rather well. Gap higher today through the 50-day moving average, which is a decent signal, normally a reliable one. Suggests that it's sort of traders have been caught on the hop. Top of the channel there up towards 14 pence, which is the top of the February channel. And that's valid while we hold above the recent support around the 6.5 pence level. Maybe give it down to 6 pence, which was with the last resistance in April. But above 6, looking for 14 by the end of next month on Petro Matad at the moment. My health checked, also improving at the moment, I suppose with a more draconian COVID strategy that the government has come up with. Here we've got a follow-on from the break of that resistance line last week from April, basically finding support around the 3.5 pence area. The longer we do that, the greater the chance of a move back up towards 5 to 5.5 pence, which was May resistance for the shares. If you're cautious, maybe wait for an end-of-day close above the 50-day line, 4.2 pence, before deciding that this could be a rebound situation. On to Mega Diagnostics, which is still trying to find its feet after the better performance that we had over the course of, I suppose, the early part of this year and the latter part of last year. Just looks as though there's some interest here around recent support there around 49 pence, just below that 50 pence level. A bit of a bear trap effect also from below the previous support there for the shares at 51 in January. So looks as though we're finding support at the initial 2021 sort of lows. And above that, looking for the 50-day moving average again, around 64, 65 pence, which has been, I suppose, the block on the shares since the beginning of May. So above 50, looking for 64 or so over the course of July, if we are lucky. Just 3 situations to go now, and first one is one that was flying at this time, well, sort of the early part of this year, but sort of cooled off a bit. It looks as though that Panthera has sort of found its feet now. We've got a line of resistance which just about to be broken around the 17 pence level. Above that, then we're looking for possibly up to February resistance as high as 25 pence over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks. Stop loss on the buy argument at the moment, just around the 50-day moving average at 13.5, but maybe worth waiting for that end-of-day close through 17 pence for Panthera after the pullback that we've had since the beginning of the year. But the higher low for June versus March, April, certainly looking or giving us cause for optimism. On to Xtract, which it's been slightly on the back foot over the recent past. Current situation, though, still trying to sort of find a foothold here. The last support there for the shares in June was around 3.5 pence, around 3.25 at the moment. So really need to get back above that 3.5 to suggest that that falling wedge, which has been in place since the beginning of March, is about to break. That line there around 3.3 pence, a little bit tighter than the 3.5 pence trigger point there from the last low, but above 3.5, then we could be heading back towards the 4 to 4.5 pence area, which was resistance on the way down. Finishing off with stock which gets the sort of the odd mention here is Zanaga iron ore. Here we've got situation which is looking rather painful in terms of the recent past. What we want to see here, though, really is an end-of-day close back above the initial February support, 6.2 pence. So an end-of-day or a weekly close above that could take the shares back up towards 8 pence as a bear trap. The reason for the inclusion today is that we have a potential of a gap close signal, so a gap down, which is then when the shares close above the top of that gap, so a gap close reversal, which actually would be a bear trap gap reversal in this case. So any close really above 6.2 should be enough to trigger that, or 6.25 rather, should be enough to trigger that and give us a potential move back up to 8 pence for Zanaga. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.